Welcome back to Life Experiences with T.L. Jones. We are still talking to Mr. Victor Noonoo.
There's a lot of things that...
This is why it's good to have you here, because some of the history books...
There was a Commonwealth Conference.
Yes.
And during which the conference decided to send a message to Ho Chi Minh in Hanoi that they should try and cease fire, stop the war, something like that. And Ho Chi Minh had replied that he didn't want to see anyone there except Nkrumah.
That is strange.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of things people don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
But for Kwame Nkrumah, the Commonwealth would not be there by now.
Okay. Right.
And I said this without fear of anything, because Kwame Nkrumah actually, during that conference, the right-wing papers in England have predicted that he was coming to cause trouble because the Rhodesian situation was raging.
Right. Yeah.
And they painted Nkrumah so bad that you thought his very presence in the country was going to derail everything.
Right.
But Kwame Nkrumah made them eat their words. Because during that conference, it was Kwame Nkrumah who proposed to the conference that now we are all independent sovereign states. So there's no point us coming every day, every conference time to England.
Right.
The time has come that the Commonwealth, being a club that we all join, rotate.
Okay.
You see? So that was accepted. That is why the Commonwealth Conference is not done in one place. Two, he said, as members of a club, we don't know what this one is doing or what that one is doing unless you go to their countries. So he proposed the Commonwealth Center.
Right.
So that every Commonwealth member could have a place to display their own country in there, to show their country. Yes. That was accepted. The third one, the leader, when they agreed for everything, the leader of the Commonwealth Secretariat was picked from Ghana, A.L. Edu. You see. And with this, the members of the Commonwealth didn't feel that they had to come to England and pay homage or something. And this is what has helped. Recently, I think it was last year or whatever, Prince Charles was talking about this, saying that the Commonwealth should thank people like Nkrumah, Nyerere, etc. And people were saying, thank Nkrumah, what? I said, you don't know what I do.
That's right.
You see. Also, I think I've got a chance now to talk about Guinea.
Yes.
Every Ghanaian.
That was when you passed, wasn't it?
He said, Kwame Nkrumah, he would have been a good president only if he had concentrated on Ghana.
I hear that a lot, but it's interesting to know why people say that.
Because he took out 10 million pounds. Do you know how much 10 million pounds in those days was? He took 10 million pounds and gave it to secretary in Guinea. Now, the reason why Nkrumah had to do that was that the French government was not like the British government, where you could judge all and talk your way out of independence.
Right.
The French people didn't want that. The president at the time was General de Gaulle. General de Gaulle decided to have a plebiscite, that's a referendum, throughout all the French colonies.
Right.
And ask them, do you want independence or do you want to stay with France? If you say yes,
then you have to pay.
it means you stay with France.
Right.
If you say no, you want independence. So after this intimidation, only Guinea was prepared to say no. What the French government did was to remove everything, even pipes. And
What?
yes, they removed everything, office equipment, everything.
They shipped it back to France.
They probably dumped it in the middle of the sea somewhere. They impoverished Guinea there and then. Now, in order to proper secretary, Kwame Nkrumah offered a loan of £10 million to rebuild Guinea.
Okay.
I mean,
Wow.
what would you have done?
Wow, you are still watching Life Experiences with T.O. Jones. We are hearing different perspectives and it's really interesting because like I said, you hear lots of different stories or perspectives about Nkrumah's presidency. Nkrumah wanted to be the savior of Africa and all of these things. So it's really good to have you here giving us your perspective and having had that close relationship with, should I say, the CPP, after his overthrow. Yes. So he went to Hanover and like you said, your prediction came in?
It came in. I think they had already planned it, that if he leaves Ghana, don't let him come back.
Wow.
And the reason is that he was educating Africans too much. And they were afraid of where their raw materials would come from.
Okay, because we are still supplying the raw
Yes.
materials.
This had been said by the ambassador, the British ambassador to Ethiopia.
Right.
He wrote a letter.
Okay.
You see, in this country, after 25 years,
everything becomes public knowledge.
Or 50 years, yes.
Yeah.
And one of these that this came out, that the ambassador actually, after an OAU conference, had to write to the British government that if you really want to get your raw materials, that's Kwame Nkrumah ought to go.
My goodness. Interesting, and there's always a way to get rid of people that you don't want, because you have some of your own people that may not agree with what is happening. It's such a shame, and when I talk to people that really knew about Kwame Nkrumah's ideology, a lot of them, one could say, are very disappointed about some of the things that, why he was overthrown.
Well, yes, the thing is, there's a lot of Nkrumah programs on TV, YouTube.
Yes,
they've realized that I watch it. So they're throwing all the Nkrumah things.
Okay, now I need to watch them and load them somewhere. Yes.
And, I have become so arrogant that I think I know more than the people who were putting out. Because this secretary thing I've never heard anyone
Okay.
standing up saying that Nkrumah did it because of
Because
that.
of what had happened.
You know.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Noonoo. So, you are still watching Life Experiences with T.L. Jones. Mr. Noonoo has given us so much from, we're talking about, what, about 70 years? When you were 7, actually. So, over 70 years of history of the Gold Coast, primary, secondary education at the time. And now, he has told us about some of his life experiences in Russia and also in the UK. Unfortunately for you, when you came to the UK, that was when Osadifo was overthrown. So would you say that changed the course of your life? Had you planned to be in the UK all along?
No, in Russia, people really didn't know what I was there for.
Okay.
I was telling everybody that I wanted to do a film producer.
Okay.
Because of the way I used to talk at Independence Day.
Yes.
A lot of people wanted me to do political science.
Okay.
In fact, they call it international relations or something like that. You know, if I knew what I would become later, I would have stayed and done it. But because of that, I said, no, in that case, I'll go to Britain. And mind you, my wife was already here.
Okay.
She was also on the Ghana government scholarship to come and study nutrition.
Oh, that's interesting.
And go back, because Kwame Nkrumah believed that we had the food.
Yes.
But because we didn't know how to mix it, take
a
herb here, take the leaf there, and make it nutritious. If we are eating kenke, it's kenke every day. You eat that all the time. Suddenly the children are getting kwashiorkor. So he sent some special girls to come here to study, so that when they went back, they were not going to restaurants. They would be working in the villages, you know, teaching
how mind the herbs and have a healthy
diet.
Wow.
So my wife was here doing that.
Right.
When I came, she had her flat, so I stayed. I said, people don't know what I want, so I'm not going back.
Right.
I talked to people, and people said, oh, why don't you go to the BBC and all that? I went to the BBC and flopped.
Right.
Because they listened to the accent, they listened to everything, and they thought, well, you're just on the borderline.
What?
If you went out and had some training, you'd be all right.
Right.
You know, I took it seriously. And probably they were being polite in dismissing me. So I enrolled for Birmingham School of Speech Training and Dramatic Art.
Oh, wow, interesting.
You see, and they called me for an audition, and I passed.
Wow.
Said, you can start next term. Luckily for me, I lived in London Borough of Haringey. I made application there that I got a school in Birmingham, going to do dramatic art, and they decided to look after me. They gave me a grant. And not only that, they gave me two-home grant. Because I had my wife here, and we had a child. You know, so mine was a sort of an adult education scholarship. So I was paid for my gigs, you know, in Birmingham
Right.
and paid
For your family in
my
London.
family in London.
Wow.
So I think sometimes when my check went to college, the teachers were very angry.
Why?
Because
You were getting double.
more than some
More
of the
than some
teachers.
of them. Well, you had a family to feed.
Exactly. But,
Wow.
yeah. So that's where I ended up. And after some time, when I finished, I phoned the BBC.
Right.
And I told them I wanted to work in the African section.
Yeah.
And they asked me for my name.
Okay.
At that time, I was reading a newspaper. Governor Lindsay, Mayor Lindsay of New York had come here. So when they asked me, what's your name? I said, Victor Lindsay.
Why?
So, because Victor Noonoo had gone there and flopped.
Oh my goodness.
So I thought, Noonoo being the way it's spelled and all that, I thought someone would say,
I've seen this name before.
That Noonoo, we've seen him before. So I quickly said Victor Lindsay. He said, okay, as soon as you get to London, come to Bush House, and we see what we can do. So I went there.
Right.
And then they took me to the studio.
Right.
I read, they asked me if I could find some subjects outside and come to it. I said, yes, I could do that. So I came out and they said, you're in the African theatre. We've taken you in the African theatre. So you'll get a script and you'll come to the studio and then we'll produce plays. So I went home very, very happy. This BBC that I was hearing in the 50s, now
you're here in the UK working with them. Amazing.
So that's how I ended up at the BBC. I think I worked there for about 12 years or more, from 76 to 92.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. Eventually, I was writing some of the plays. Yeah. So people like Olu Jacobs
of Nigeria and Hollywood.
We were together.
Oh wow!
At BBC African Theatre. Yes.
Wow.
I think I'm a year older than Olu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's lovely. And you've remained in the UK with your family?
Well, I think my last broadcast here was 93.
Okay.
I decided to go and do Nkrumah politics in Ghana.
CPP.
Yeah. So I quit.
Right.
Not that I quit, I took an early retirement at the age of 53.
Oh, right. Retirement at the time was it 55 or 60, wasn't it?
Yes. At the age of 53. In fact, they themselves, they wanted to cut down staff. So mine was a welcome thing. But they brought me all the contract, whatever the things were, and I read them and I thought, oh, with this money times Ghana, I can live.
You can make it, you can live in Ghana,
So I took it and went to Accra to do politics.
Wow. And how long were you in Ghana for before you came back to the UK?
Oh, I was there from 92 right up to 2001. I didn't stay.
Okay, you were coming back and forth. Okay.
The leaders of the party would say, you've done quite a good job here. So you go home and let your family see that we value what you're doing, and then come back. You know, that was, at the time, the Nkrumahist had polarized. You know, there were so many Nkrumahist parties. You see, but we here, the CPP, the CCs here, we had our friends in Ghana. So I joined the group that had almost all our friends in. And that was the NCP, National Convention Party, and led at the time, well, their flag bearer at the time was Aka. Aka. That's right. That's the party I joined. And we had Mr. The late Chikata, the late Tetenga, the youngest TUC General Secretary. In fact, the first one, Kwame Nkrumah, appointed. I got to know all of them closely, very, very closely. We were all in the same national executive.
So, what made you change your mind to come back and live in the UK again? Should I say 10, might be right in saying 10 years back to politics?
They say when a man becomes a policeman, even when he has retired, shout, thief! He will be the first to open his door to change the tune. So, well, I didn't really turn my back. The Nkrumah's job is there all the time. At the moment, I think the best thing every Nkrumahist should strive for is to strive for someone to take over the African unity mantle of Nkrumah. You know, because if our unity is so important that the Europeans and the Americans would like to subvert it, then it means it will do something better for us. You see? So I think that ought to be pursued. At the moment, I can't. And even as a baby in our party, we're only 3. You know, but I think the person who is now doing very well with the Nkrumahist project is Mr. Kwesi Pratt.
I heard so much about Mr. Kwesi Pratt.
Yes. If anyone wants to know anything about Nkrumah, then the youth in this country, we will educate them, and they will feel like they are sitting before a professor.
Interesting. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, one question I was going to ask, maybe, do you think the CPP will ever come to power in Ghana? Because at the moment, it feels like it's either NDC or MPP. And I don't even know whether CPP comes to like the third in terms of the political party rankings. What could be done to get CPP out there?
In politics or in anything, you don't say never. You know, but I think the Nkrumahist project has changed. The time when we were fighting for independence, everyone was on board. After independence, then people saw that, oh, the country is ripe for chopping. You know, so you had the opposition, you had so many people coming in to muddy the waters so that they can get leeway and do the destructive things they want. Why should any African think that the unity of the continent is a bad thing?
Good question.
Why?
And I think that leads me to my next question in terms of wrapping up to the end of this lovely discussion here. You did mention a while back that soon after independence, Nkrumah wanted to develop Ghana, and as such develop the individuals, educate them, and having just one university in Ghana wasn't enough. So obviously all the scholarships came and Ghanaians went abroad. But the main motive was you go abroad, you study, you return, and there'll be a job waiting for you. Now we know the opposite is the issue, and now we have a lot of Ghanaians living everywhere in the world you can think of. The UK is almost like the second home to most Ghanaians. You have the America, you have most European countries. My question is, what would you tell the Ghanaians in the diaspora? Because a lot of them would like to go home. Some of them have tried going back to establish things, and it hasn't worked for them. Are we still going to, there's a terminology that was being used, I can't remember the exact terminology, because it looks like the labor force of Ghana is leaving the country all the time. I mean, I get lots of messages on social media, I want to come to abroad, can you help me? We keep saying Ghana is a rich country. You know, we have lots of raw materials, resources, yet a lot of Ghanaians want to leave the country. So my question is in two folds really. The Ghanaians in the diaspora and also the Ghanaians living in Ghana that are aspiring to leave the country. How can we develop our nation?
Our nation, before we can develop the nation, we need good leadership. We had Kwame Nkrumah, who, when he was overthrown, everybody was saying he was the most corrupt thing in the world.
Wow. People thought Kwame Nkrumah was corrupt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they set up commissions. And then the country found out that they rather owed him money.
Wow.
They went all over the tax havens looking for Nkrumahs. There was nothing. In Ghana itself, if it wasn't for his party members, he would have died and his mother would have become homeless the very day he was overthrown.
Wow.
But I got senior members of his government to tell me that they led a siege on him to try and do something for his mother. That is why you got the Nyane estate. One thing I want to tell you, Pediasi Lodge, it was the chiefs of that area who gave Nkrumah the land to build a holiday place where you could come and rest when you found it necessary. So Nkrumah started the project and it got to £9,000. And when they told me, so what? 9,000? Where am I going to get 9,000 from? You know, okay, in that case, let's give it to the state.
So that was supposed to be his personal...
That was his personal property.
Wow.
And I interviewed one of his valets. And I said, so when the land was lying down, he said, oh, when it grew a lot of wheat, he would send us on Saturdays to go and weed. So I said, you want to tell me that Kwame Nkrumah couldn't tell the PWD
Wow.
to go and weed his. He said, no. He said
He wasn't going to use the state. Wow.
You know,
That's
but
amazing.
a whole lot of nonsense was said about him. At the moment, if I would recommend anyone to take the OAU mantle, I would recommend Muhammad.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yes.
Why do you say that?
If he had died, he would have gone with his bad name. But because he did that, and the government that was there, now we have seen that after all, the guy we thought was that bad is our savior. Something like that.
Okay. So the grass is not always green on the other side.
No, because there are people, let's say Noonoo didn't come to power. You see, because after the elections, they went to court.
Yes.
Now, I think Noonoo would say to himself that I wish I had gone with my good name. But at the moment, people had seen that the country has borrowed so much and there's nothing to show for it. At least if Muhammad was corrupt, and I don't think any government is that clean. You have seen the things he did. You've seen them all over the
education.
All
free education seemed to be the...
It was the free education that... But I wouldn't even think that because people say he didn't lose the election. You know, but he was overwhelmed by it. You know, people snatched it from him. Okay. But all I'm saying, well, it's only got 4 years. If he were to be elected next time, now for 4 years, what can he do? So I think after he had said that, those 4 years, he should go to the OAU, apply for a job there, and influence them.
Interesting. So Nkrumah, if you ever happen to watch this program, Mr. Noonoo is saying, apply to AU.
Not Nkrumah.
You mean Mahama? I beg your pardon. So, Mr. John Mahama, because he's hoping to be the flag bearer, or is he the flag bearer for the next election?
He's hoping to be. But you see, Nkrumah is one of those things that if he hadn't become president the second time, we would all sit down and moan. Or if only he was there, you know.
That is human nature, though, isn't it? That's human nature.
If only he was there. What pleases me about the Nkrumah thing is that it took a long time for the nation to stand back and realize. You see, the irrigation of Accra Plains, we haven't said it. We haven't said it.
Because we have so much.
That canal between Accra and Kaswa, from what I heard, it was going to go right up to the north.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And side by side, when the vegetation changed, the crop would change.
Right. Okay.
It was going to be the breadbasket of Ghana.
Wow.
These are ideas that we've abandoned. You see. And the irony is that it was the Israelis who were going to help build that thing.
Interesting.
The night they signed the contract, They went to bed, got up, and Nkrumah had been overthrown.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And that is one of the things I think in Africa we struggle with in terms of changes in political parties means changes in the development plans. And that is something that I think is costing a lot of African countries a lot.
Yes.
So, Mr. Noonoo, we almost come to the end of this discussions. We are very, very honored to have you here living life experiences with T.L. Jones. One last thing, what would you like to say to your fellow Ghanaians, either living in abroad or living in Ghana?
My children, my friends, and a whole lot of people. In fact, I've done this Ghana thing to about 4 university students who used as the dissertation and all that. And they got very good grades for it. And people have asked me to write something. You know. I still think I'm not worthy of losing quite a few shoes.
Wow.
You know, I still, so the confidence is not there. But this time in Ghana, if you talk good about someone, the other side will tell you, oh, you are NDC. If you talk about it, you are NPP. You see, and I'm one of those who doesn't want that. You see, education should be very important to Ghana. You see, with the little education I had, I come here and I talk to heads of states, and I'm not lost in front of them. It's all common sense. Our country started so well. Ghana started so well. Look at a country where the only secondary schools were dotted around Cape Coast. 1948. Kwame Nkrumah went up to Makati Hill in Cape Coast and called the students who were expelled because of the riots and their teachers and told the teachers, teach these children to be able to do their school certificate. They were taught and they passed. And Kwame Nkrumah inaugurated that school, named it Ghana National. So you can see that he was using Ghana even before independence. Ghana National. And his aim was that your Apam Secondary School would have become Ghana National School. Apam. Winneba, Ghana National School, Winneba. You know, but the Education Trust, who were charged with fulfilling these things, built the schools all right. Except that the names became different. The first schools he built were after Ghana National were in 1953 or thereabout. Apam was one. Obusco was Fijai, you know, and quite a few schools I've forgotten. You know. These came in 1953. Before the Education Trust schools came. Now, if you see the impact those secondary schools have on our lives, on everybody's life, you know, you can never dismiss education. So we should always, you know, hope for a better education for the next generation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Noonoo. You have really made my Independence Month the best yet. Like I said, we are in the Independence Month and it's time to reflect on what independence means to us and what independence means to our children. And like you rightly said, education is the key. We must never, never stop looking at quality of education. And education is not just the classroom. It's not just the formal academic qualifications. Education is a whole lot of things. You have to have a holistic view, including academics, that community, and also sitting with, he doesn't like me to say this, but for me, he is a historian. You know, listening to all the information, that is education. Thank you so much for watching Life Experiences with T.L. Jones. Thank you, and we'll come to you again very soon.
Yeah.